In working in a resource room with children with special needs, I've discovered there's some things that help them specifically. And one thing is working with visual learners. A lot of kids are auditory learners, and you can tell them something, you write it on the board, and they can learn it. They learn it with a few repetitions. But with some kids, it's like a lot of repetitions, and it's just not sticking. I found when I was teaching kindergarten last year, actually, some of my kindergarten students were really having trouble learning the letter sounds and blending them together to make words. And basically the concept is that right brain learners really need visuals to stick with letter sounds, with things that are auditory. For the sound ah in octopus, most curriculums would have an octopus up here and an O down here, right? And you'd say ah in octopus, right? But for a visual child, they don't connect. They're not going to connect that octopus with the ah sound and with that shape of that letter. And so when you have a card that superimposes the letter on the picture, they can connect that more easily. So I started with my kids doing these flashcards instead of the curriculum flashcards, where the letter is smack on the word. It was amazing the progress I saw just in the first few weeks of doing that. When they knew that this is ah, and this is ah, then I would start making words by putting these together and not even just writing letters yet. We just use these cards so they can connect already. They can connect the picture and the sound and start making blends together. But they still have it real visually. And the idea is that they see this picture enough that they get it in their head and they have a picture of that. So if they see the letter A with no picture, they can visualize that apple and be reminded of that sound ah. So that's the idea, and I've kind of taken that to a lot of different aspects of learning. So I was familiar with this program by Diane Kraft, this RightBrain Phonics program, and I kind of took the concept. So when you get to sight words that are not phonetical, then you can create stories and drawings that go with the word. And so away, for the word away, we have like 2 garbage cans here and a fan and this girl plugging her nose. And the little story is like, that trash stinks, take it away from me, get it away. And so you tell them this little story and then you show them these flashcards. It's a reminder, a visual reminder. And so then when they start seeing this or spelling this without the picture, they're visualizing, these 2 garbage cans in the W, and they're thinking, get that away from me. It's hard to keep up with the demand sometimes when you get on to spelling, and I'm working with a 5th grader who is really struggling with spelling. He wants to spell everything very phonetically because he knows the sounds. So when you get to harder reading, words are not phonetical. This is really helpful for him. I just make flashcards and I scribble them down with markers or whatever, and I do whatever kind of silly, crazy thing I can do on that word to make it come alive and to just get it to stick in his memory. But whatever it is, I don't draw the picture next to the word. I draw it on top of the letters. I highlight letters. I make them different colors, and he really sees those pictures. Another aspect of that is, you want to be encouraging your students. Always make them feel really successful. You never say like, oh, that's wrong or something. You say, oh, like, try again, or are you sure about that? And then they'll notice it themselves. If I show them a word and they can't read it, I immediately will flash them the flashcard. Or if he can't spell the word, I immediately show it to him, always giving him that information that he needs until he can have the picture in his head. So for the first few days, when he gets a new word building pace and he has, 25, 30 new spelling words, we do a pre-test and see which ones he already knows, and we skip those. And then the ones he doesn't know, we make flashcards for them. And then for the first few days, I just flash the cards and have him spell them. I don't try to make him spell it on his own because I want him to get that picture in his head. So I just give him a lot of visual reinforcement, let him see that card. Then I will start hiding it and saying, what color is the W? Or how do you spell this word? And then while he's thinking of it, I'll try to ask him to describe the colors or describe the story behind the word or whatever. Also, he's started to come up with ideas on his own of how to give himself memory tricks, because he's starting to learn this skill and see that this helps him. I hope that in a while he's able to make all his flashcards himself, and he will come up with things that he knows will trigger his memory and will be effective for him. When I was in Bible Bee, I competed for several years in the National Bible Bee, and the references were always really hard for me to remember. And so I would use the same concept. I would draw some kind of picture on the numbers, or like make them different colors. And so I guess just sometimes with things like a memory verse, if you can just make it visual, even if it doesn't necessarily make sense to you, even if it seems silly and absurd, if it's going to make it stick in the child's memory, that's the point. That's going to be useful and helpful. Yeah, so this is called the RightBrain Phonics program, or RightBrain Phonics book. It's a whole kind of curriculum, and I just bought the reading set. So there's like math. I think there's math helps too, but this, just the reading set, it would come with a phonics book, and this has lists of words that are, big and with lots of color, and the special sound or whatever would be in that color, and it would also often have the visual cues for them. So if they're forgetting that sound, they can look up and have that. And then it comes with the set of alphabet cards, and then also there's special sound cards in that set, like I and night, ow and cow, and they have both different spellings on the same, because it makes the same sound. And then also these right brain sight words. So yeah, it says www.dinecraft.org. And she also has some incredible videos about working with right brain children, working with dyslexic children, ADHD, behavior problems. She has all kinds of incredible information about how the brain works and what can help these children remember things and succeed in their education.